All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is Daily Vlog 2025, number 256. And today, I need a drink. All right. So, today, for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, Tom and Bodie from Homie and the Dude were kind enough to sit down and let me interview them about Homie and the Dude, some of the stuff they'd done previously, and the new Scorched Basin campaign setting that is currently on Kickstarter. Unfortunately, they were really, really strapped on time. Like, they had a very, very serious hard out. And so uh, I had a load of questions that I wanted to ask them. I didn't get to all of them, but I got to most of the ones that were most important to me personally. But one thing that I didn't really get to do, because again, no time, was really kind of like give my view on the things that they were talking about. And the thing that I wanted to talk about today is actually the magic system. I had mentioned when I first talked about the Scorch Basin that they mentioned, there's a brand new magic system, and I'm like, oh, that's really interesting and fun. I wonder what it's going to be like. And I had made some predictions about. I'm thinking it's not going to be defiling magic. Everything I could see from the Scorch Basin did not seem to be kind of mimicking Dark Sun in any way, shape, or form. It was Dune meets Mad Max, which is not a bad thing in any way, shape, or form. But that meant we weren't going to be getting. Sorry, I have a hair on my glasses. All right. We weren't going to be getting defiling magic. So my prediction was it was going to be some sort of scarcity based magic. And so I asked them, and oh boy, did I get an interesting response. So I'm going to be summarizing what was told to me yesterday. That is actually recorded. It's on the channel. So if I get anything wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments down below. But my very basic understanding of the magic system is effectively there is not really a plane, but like a level where the ability to use what we would refer to as magic exists. If you want to boil it down to like pure ideas, it's kind of similar in theory to like the idea of the weave in the Forgotten Realms, where there's this kind of layer of magic, and all magic users have to interact with it, and different types of magic interact with it in different ways. Well, and I'm not going to remember any of the actual technical terms because, again, proper nouns, my brain just doesn't like them. But they're all in the video yesterday. So, this weave-like structure is actually composed of vibrations, and vibrating at different frequencies and stuff like that allows you to do different things. And by manipulating these vibrations, that's how you do their version of magic. But if you are expecting the ability to like rain down lightning from the heavens, or shoot a fireball from your hands, that's not really how the magic was described to me. Effectively, unless you become what he referred to as untethered, anytime you are casting the magic, you have to be in physical contact with it in some way, shape, or form. So, the idea of just like throwing around magic like a wizard isn't really how it works. Second, the magic itself, for the most part, is about kind of manipulation in general. It's not about like creating something out of nothing or anything. It's about manipulating things, whether it's manipulating objects, manipulating people, manipulating the environment around you. And so to me, what it sounds like is it's much more akin to the psionics that we see in things like the Dark Sun than it is a more traditional magic system, which is really, really cool. But it gets more interesting. So, the way that you access this ability to cast magic is you have to ingest this blue crystal, which allows you to basically see the matrix effectively. And so when you ingest this blue crystal, you now have access to your magic. And mechanically, it's made up of two kind of parallel systems. You have, I can't remember what they're called. You have one set of points that you use to unlock magic, and then you have your spell points effectively that you use to cast it. So you have like a character creation aspect, and then you have an active use aspect. And I believe they're technically like they're not connected in the idea that, well, if I use too many of the spell points, that I can just take. Nope, they're two very separate different systems. So you use the spell unlock ones to unlock. He said that there's 30 different spells split across effectively 3 different disciplines, which are remarkably similar to the 3 disciplines of psionics in Dark Sun. And I actually asked him that. I said, did you take inspiration from Dark Sun, or is this just kind of a parallel thinking thing? Which I couldn't remember the term parallel thinking, so I just trailed off then. But he's like, he was familiar with Dark Sun, but no, it didn't. It's just that this is a really simple way to separate things. So again, I can't remember the actual names for them, but you basically have one discipline that's built around kind of manipulating people and the things like that. One that's kind of based around like telepathy and things like that, and mind stuff. And then the third one is kind of object manipulation types of stuff. And each different spell has 3 levels that you can eventually invest points in, and each level allows you to do more unique things along that path. Funnily enough, this actually isn't that far off from the kind of similar to the 4th edition psionic powers, where you would have these things called power points that you'd have abilities you could use, and then while you were using them, if you wanted to invest a power point in them, it would change what they could do. Now this system, it's not changing it on the fly like that, but it is an idea of, well, if I invest more in this ability, it allows me to do more things. Very akin to the age system, where you will have, I think they're called feats, I can't remember right off the top of my head, but you'll have talents, that's what they call them. You'll have talents. If you get like the novice level talent, it lets you do one thing, and then you invest a little more to the intermediate level, I can't remember what it's called, journeyman level of it, and you can do a little bit more. Kind of a very similar system with their magic, which to me sounds really, really fascinating and interesting. And it definitely means that, again, even though there's 30, even though there's only quote unquote 30 spells, whereas, you know, if you look at something like Dungeons and Dragons, you have hundreds. The difference being each spell has basically 3 different levels that allow you to just continue to do more with it. So while technically there's 30 spells, if you multiply the levels out, that turns into 90 spells, and they are designed, according to my understanding from what I got from Bodhi, they are designed to be a little bit more open-ended. They're designed to be kind of interpreted. Like one of the spells he talked about was something like Inflict Pain, something like that, which is your basic kind of damage-dealing spell. But it just says inflict pain. It doesn't say, oh, you charge their nervous system with electricity and it does this. So, kind of similar to how Open Legend works, where you have these attributes and you have these banes and baboons, but it's up to you to kind of flavor how they work. And that flavor that you add to it, well, how are you doing this, is what's going to be the limiting factor, not the cold, hard, fast rules that they wrote in. So that in and of itself, very interesting, very cool as far as a quote-unquote magic system is concerned. But the thing, in my opinion, that became the most interesting to me is, again, in order to be able to access this magic, you have to ingest this blue crystal. And there's a bunch of different ways to do it, but you have to ingest it. Unfortunately, the ability to, see the Matrix and use magic only lasts for about 8 hours. So if someone wants to have access to magic for like a full day, they need to dose themselves effectively at least 2, maybe 3 times throughout the day. And all of that requires you to have access to this blue crystal. If you don't have the blue crystal, then you literally can't do it. And as soon as, your time runs out, you don't lose all of your spells and everything like that. You just can't access any of them until you dose again. So it's not like, oh crap, I forgot to take my dose, now I have to start over from level 1 or whatever on these powers. Nope, everything stays the same. You just can't access it. And then the other thing, every time you ingest this crystal, it damages you. You eventually get, again, I can't remember the term because my brain doesn't like proper nouns, but it's something along the line of like the blue sickness or something like that, the blue plague, something. And so every time you ingest this, you are bringing yourself that much closer to death. You are literally killing yourself by ingesting this thing. But the trade-off for it is pretty impressive. Like the object manipulation spells, like some of those actually mimic. Like when he was describing it, my first thought was like, oh, this is like Full Metal Alchemist, where like Edward would be able to like take a rock and like pull out a sword from it by just going, well, there's some iron in there, so I can shoom. Now I have a steel sword, by just rearranging the molecules in there and using alchemy. Effectively, it sounds like that's something that you can do, though you use sand and things like that. But you can effectively make weapons and objects out of other objects and kind of transmute and translate the things. So the idea of, oh, I'm never without a weapon because I can just pull one out of nowhere, or I can, control someone's mind so that they see illusions or that they think that I'm your friend. Like, there's a lot of big benefits to doing it, but then there's also the fact that, oh, this will kill you. Like, it isn't like, well, maybe it won't. Like, theoretically, you could smoke a pack a day every day, and you theoretically could die of old age and never have to deal with cancer or anything like that. But you're rolling the dice every single time. No, this one is, no, you're going to die. This is deadly. It will kill you. It's just how fast you want it to kill you. And I love that, both from a mechanical perspective, because, again, let's talk about some game design here. If you're creating a game set in a desert environment and you want it to feel kind of oppressive, everything needs to be limited. You need to feel like, if I make this choice, I'm going to use this valuable resource, and I don't know the next time I'm going to have access to it. And so the idea that magic is just has the possibility of being just as scarce as water or food in the desert is a really, really big deal. I think that was one of the kind of inspirations behind the idea of defiling magic, is the idea that they wanted magic to be scarce. And you'd have to kind of make a choice about whether or not you wanted to use magic, because eventually you'll use up all the resources. Um, so, um, yeah, the idea of magic actually being scarce, I find fascinating, because again, if we take inspiration from history, anytime there is an extremely valuable resource, um, the people in power will find a way to hoard it. Um, and so, in a situation where you are in, again, the Scorched Basin is this kind of post-apocalyptic desert. There are going to be different, places where power has consolidated, and they are going to do everything they can to hoard this thing, because magic is a deal breaker. Um, and so, the idea of giving your players the choice of, well, do you want to use magic? Okay. Either you can invest your own resources into finding your own source of it, whether trading for, going dungeon delving and stuff like that to get items that are valuable enough for you to trade for your magic, or you can kind of cuddle up with this less than altruistic group that happens to have power, and they can give you some of it as payment for services, things like that. To me, that creates a really interesting dynamic for the players, because you can have some players that are going to go like the hero route. No, I would never sacrifice my morals just for magic, but I need magic in order to play my character. So I'm going to find another way to do it. We're gonna go hunting out in the desert for natural deposits of this and things like that. And then you're probably also going to have players who go, you know what? I am going to take from them, but I'm going to do it in protest, and I'm going to fight against them. I'm going to be real secretive about how I do it, so they don't realize that I'm effectively a double agent. And then you might have a third type of a player that just goes, the ends justify the means. We're going to find the least offensive warlord in this area, the one that I have the least amount of trouble sleeping after I deal with them, and then we're just going to use this to create a greater good. And then obviously you might have players that want to play an evil campaign where they actually are doing this, but all of those allow for the game master to introduce scarcity in different ways. That is not just going to be, oh, well, now it's harder for you to cast your magic. If you're the one that's like, well, no, I'm never gonna work with these evil warlords. I'm gonna find it my own. Okay, and so the party is on a regular basis looking for sources of this crystal. All right. Well, once they start getting more famous, people start noticing that they always seem to have this a certain amount of this crystal that's hard to come by, and is normally controlled by the bad guys. So either they're going to start getting jumped for their crystal, or people are going to follow them in order to try and basically get places before these people do. And one of the things a party with a bunch of players like that is going to run into is the idea of, ooh, we got a line on where there's some crystal we can go get. Unfortunately, if we know about it, somebody else knows as well. If we don't get there fast enough, someone else is going to clean it out before we can get there. Or people are going to sabotage us, like, oh, great, guys, we just found out about this thing. We're the first people to know it. Let's go get in our horses or camels or our bashers. Bashers are the vehicles that they designed for the campaign setting. Let's get in our bashers and go for it. As soon as you get there, you go, wait a minute, all of our fuel lines are cut, or all of our tanks have been siphoned. Oh, somebody was overhearing us or spying on us, realized that we knew where we were going and sabotaged us, so we're not going to be able to get there as quickly. So you can introduce it that way, where it doesn't really feel like the GM's just being mean to you. And then when you start dealing with the other people, you can just as easily have something happen that causes the party to lose favor with their warlord. And so, as any good evil person will do, when they have something that you have a desperate need for, borderline addiction for, they will start limiting your access to it. You know, I can only give crystals out to my best people. I have to make sure that my most valuable spellcasters are getting the best stuff. And unfortunately for you, you're just not doing the best stuff. So do something that makes makes me happy, and maybe we'll talk about getting you some more. But until you do that, I'm guessing, you know, you're going to have to find it somewhere else. Oh, wait, I control all the crystals in the city. And because you work for me, you're blacklisted from the other cities because they don't like me. I guess you're just going to have to do what I want you to do now, aren't you? You know? Like, there's so many different stories you can tell with that. And you can do that in TTRPGs without this kind of magic system. But the fact that, you know, creating a spellcasting character, like, that's an inherent part of the character a lot of times. And so having access to that resource be tied into your character so well will make the players significantly more invested in it. So yeah, like I said, from a purely kind of storytelling and mechanical standpoint, I like the idea of this magic system. I think it's absolutely fascinating. And as a system, it's not difficult to implement in any, you know, TTRPG. Like, again, it's just from what has been explained to me. I could use this system. I don't know any of the spells other than the one where you can create items and then one where you can cause pain. So I don't know any of the specifics, but they'll be in the book. But I could jury rig that system. I could jury rig that system into my Draw Steel game in December with very little effort. Like, the hard part was basically going, okay, well, this is how it's going to work, and these are kind of limitations. You know, all I would need to do is come up with the numbers aspect of it, which, by the way, I'm not going to do. I have enough homebrewing that I have to do for that December campaign. I'm not going to also try and homebrew one of these new systems that may or may not exist by December. I don't know how long it's going to take for Scorched Basin to actually get published, but yeah. So like I said, I thought it was really, really fascinating. I wish I had had the time to have a more in-depth discussion about their magic system or a couple other aspects of the Giga game, because they're both very passionate about it. It seems relatively obvious to me that Bodhi seems to be the one that was kind of designing the majority of the things, while Tom seemed to be kind of doing a lot of the other stuff. He seemed to be a little bit more business-minded, and Bodhi seemed to be more of the creative, is what I got. I actually didn't ask who does what, but Bodhi definitely knew the lore significantly better. Or at least he was the one that took the lead when talking about the lore and all the mechanics and things like that. And he's got a really great head on him as far as, like, game mechanics and stuff are concerned. Because we kind of knocked around a few ideas. Not much. Again, I didn't have a whole lot of time to talk, but I was able to get a few of his ideas about, you know, game balance and stuff like that. And he's a cool dude. Really, really is. So, anyway, like I said, I thought it was really, really fascinating and interesting. Very excited about the Scorched Basin. The interview, like, supercharged me. As long as I have the money, I'm definitely going to be backing it. Though, if I remember correctly, I hope that it'll still be live sometime in October, because then I will have more money. I get paid once a month through disability, and because of the sump pump and everything like that, money is still going to be very, very tight for at least another couple months. Um, so if I can push off backing until October, I should probably be able to scrounge up enough to at least get a digital copy of the book somehow. Um, but yeah, it's exciting me. It sounds really, really fascinating and cool. Anyway, that's gonna be all for me today. Um, Interested to hear from you guys. First of all, what are your thoughts on this kind of magic system? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are you not a big fan of the idea of scarcity of magic, or do you think it's a really cool idea? Let me know in the comments down below. Second of all, go watch the interview. It's brilliant. We talk about so many amazing, wonderful things in there. So yeah. Anyway, again, that's all for me today. I will see you guys next time. All right. Bye bye.